Three, two, one. Welcome back to Backward Point Podcast. My name is Nazar Sayed. I am wearing my tinfoil hat. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. With me, as always, my brother and co-host Bashar Sayed, also wearing his tinfoil hat. Today's an episode about conspiracy theories, drama, chaos, toxicity, and Pakistan cricket. Floor is yours.
Who needs Netflix when you are a Pakistan cricket fan? Really, like imagine if Backward Point was a podcast that covered New Zealand cricket. Imagine how dull that would be.
We'd have an episode a year.
Maybe. New Zealand beat India. Emergency podcast.
Emergency podcast, yes. Honestly. I mean,
because New Zealand has consistency, they have one board, they have one captain, they've got future planning. Everything is in place.
No dramas, just straight up cricket, like 30 players. They don't have a huge roster that they can fall back upon. You know, these are the guys that are going to play cricket for New Zealand for the next 15 years. Cherish them, know them, love them, hate them, whatever you want to do. These are your guys. With Pakistan cricket, I mean, this is the level of podcasting that we're doing here. Yesterday, we did the Pakistan and England historic series when in New Zealand and India historic series loss podcast. We were going to do a back-to-back. We were going to be like, hey, let's just pound 2 for 2. We'll be good. Release them day apart. You were like, nah, let's just keep it fresh. We finished the podcast. I leave the studio. I go into my room. The first thing I see on social media is that Kirsten has resigned as white ball coach of Pakistan. First thing I see. And I'm like, holy crap. I'm so glad that we didn't do a back-to-back because we wouldn't have never covered it. Or maybe it would have broken, the news would have broken on the podcast live. That would have been a completely different sensation. Maybe for our Patreon viewers, we would do that. But it's just, I don't even know where to begin with this. I know you've tried to formulate some sort of notes, but I don't even know where to begin with the lineup of this. You've titled it PCB catch up, but it's not even catch up because what are you going to do? In 3 days, I feel like I've lived 10 lifetimes as a Pakistan cricket fan. The irony is that we released a Pakistan-England series review, which should have done numbers, but we released it a day late. And in those 3 days, we had a new white ball captain. We had a new white ball vice captain. 4 squads were announced and a coach was resigned. This is like all of those are podcasts on their own. And the fact that we have to engulf ourselves and cover this up in 40 to 60 minutes is insane.
The fact that Pakistan has not played cricket in the last 4 days and we are still out here doing podcasts about Pakistan cricket tells you everything you need to know. Usman Samidian wrote a beautiful piece on Cricket Info today. And the title of that article, I think, speaks everything you need to know about Pakistan cricket.
In Pakistan cricket, glory is temporary, toxicity is permanent. I urge everybody to check that article out. Great article.
On that note, I think we're safe to say that this episode is sponsored by Yashi Sports, Canada's home of cricket.
And a non-toxic home of cricket. Mention that.
Yashi Sports is a place where you will not get drama.
You'll thrive.
There is no toxicity.
You might be the closest to heaven that you'll ever be.
There's consistency.
There's likability.
It's a family-run business, and I know Nasir Bhai for a long time. I know their whole family. I play cricket with them, and it's one place where when you go there, you can expect high-quality service, the best-in-class expert advice for your cricketing needs. And I think there's nothing better than having an exclusive code given to us by Yashi Sports, BP10, for 10% off your next purchase. I mean, where in Canada can you go for equipment where you can get 10% off your next purchase, courtesy of the biggest podcast in North America?
Thank you very much for that enlightenment. I think everybody should check that out. Yashi Sports, links in the bio, links in the description.
You know, I've asked people, like pro players who use Yashi equipment, like for example, Saad Zafar, and he has nothing but great things to say about Yashi's bats, their equipment. He was at the World Cup using that stuff. Pakistan women's team captain Fatma Sana is sponsored by Yashi Sports. So I think they have their investments in the right place. And now is the time for Yashi to thrive. And I encourage you guys, go there, let them know Backward Point sent you.
Kick it up.
Let's get this podcast going.
Oh, man. Okay, so where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the 4 teams that have been announced? Do you want to start with the big news of Kirsten resigning? What do you want to do?
I was thinking like timeline-wise, we can go with how
the news broke.
So the first thing that came out was Mohammad Rizwan has been announced as Pakistan's white ball captain. This was rumored since the day Babar Azam resigned as captain. And, amongst all of the options that we have available, I think was the best option. Um, what were your initial thoughts on hearing Rizwan being captain?
Um, I mean, it was called for. He's literally the only person that hasn't been from the superstars that we have has not been called up to captain the team. It was a no brainer. He's been doing well in the domestic circuit and the PSL circuit. He captains all the leagues that he's playing, especially the GG20. And we've seen him lead his sides to success before. It was the only knob that the Pakistan Cricket Board had not turned. And it felt like for a very long time that they were really avoiding turning this knob, really avoiding even approaching this door, I should say. And they're here now, forcefully or with passion or without passion, with the likelihood that this might backfire, maybe. I just don't understand why this couldn't have been made. Why this decision could not have been made before even getting a second term for Babar Azam. Like this, all of this could have been resolved a lot quicker and a lot better, maybe if maybe Rizwan was captaining Pakistan throughout the World Cup.
I think a couple of reasons. So, number one was that there was an internal anti Rizwan lobby in the PCB.
Mhm. Why was it? Why was that?
Mohammad Rizwan and Babar Azam turned down big money by surrogate betting companies that were acting. They were basically using a different name to hide that they are betting companies. in
The Fun
Pakistan.
News,
Yeah.
365 News.
You guys already know that.
Backward Point News.
Yeah. And they're either hiding themselves as news channels or equipment companies. Neither of them were true. And they were also sponsoring the PCB at the time. They were sponsoring series. They were paying good money. I think I'm safe to say on the record that Backward Point has also been reached out twice by some of these surrogate betting companies, and we have not responded.
And actually, no, that's not true. We have responded just to see what it actually is. And whatever number we've quoted, we haven't gotten pushback on it. We've gotten more of a let's start. Where can we start?
Which is a massive red flag.
Which is a red flag in the sense that you don't want to know where this money is coming from. Also, I was actually talking to someone about this recently. A lot of our audience is impressionable young men from the ages of 14 to 25, 30. Very strong demographic. Appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. And what we don't want to do, at least for us, it was to promote these betting companies on them, these lobbying companies, these casino companies, to impressionable young men. We don't want to do that. That's not the precedence we want to set. And I think that's sort of the vibe that we got from Babar and Rizwan as well. It's millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars, turned away, and the PCB might not like that.
So that was one of the reasons. The other reason was because of the whole Saya Corps thing. Zaka Ashraf and co. were not happy with the fact that Saya Corps was educating the Pakistan players on what their rights are, what their contracts should be, and how Saya did have a pretty big part in renegotiating the PCB central contracts. So that was one of the reasons why they were not happy with giving Rizwan captaincy.
But why not? But then why give it back to Babar, right? That's what I'm saying. It's the same situation all over
Well,
again.
chairman changes. Mohsen Naqvi comes in, and then Mohsen Naqvi allegedly forces Babar to take captaincy. Like that's what we heard.
But
Babar
at
Azam
that
was
situation,
forced.
if you were going to give captaincy anyways to a Saya Corp client, why not just be Rizwan? Save yourself the debacle. Save yourself the hassle.
Well, I think what Mohsen Naqvi was told when he came in as chairman was that what happened to Babar Azam was not fair, and captaincy was unfairly, unjustly taken away from him.
Mhm.
And that's why Mohsen Naqvi felt like it was important to go back and give Babar captaincy. So because of those two reasons, I think Rizwan was not made captain earlier. I feel like Rizwan should be Pakistan's red ball captain as well. That's a format that really suits him. Tests, ODIs is what I feel Rizwan is a great captain at. But before we get into some other more details, I saw one thing very interesting about the press conference that Mohsen Naqvi had, where he announced Rizwan as captain. In the last 6 months, Mohsen Naqvi has done multiple press conferences with many different cricketers by his side. Initially, it was Wahab Riaz and Muhammad Yusuf on his sides. He's doing press conferences, doing team announcements. Fast forward a few months, it is Fakhar Yunus on his side doing team announcements. And fast forward to now announcing Rizwan as white ball captain, it is Aqib Javed, It is Asad Shafiq. It is Azhar Ali announcing the team. What I'm trying to say is that just optics wise, it looks really weird how the personnel keeps changing on who is advising Mohsen Naqvi. So if you have different people telling you what to do, you're going to have different actions. You're going to have inconsistent actions. And I think it's what's that quote that says that too many cooks ruin the meal?
Yeah, something of that nature. I think crumbs of this change of administration were laid out way before. If you listen to Rizwan behind the stumps, him calling out Akibal is here was an indignation, a sort of cut scene, a post-credit scene or a pre-credit scene, I should say, of this, official administration change.
It's like the end of Marvel movies where they
Yeah.
would give you a post-credit scene
Yeah.
where they would give you a hint of
Easter egg was dropped way before, and people who caught it. I think the fact that the press conference starts with Mohammad Rizwan fixing Mohsen Naqvi's mic just goes to show what kind of relationship they are. Maybe I'm reading too into this. Maybe the literature student is coming out of me and trying to analyze, oh, the curtains are blue, so then maybe everybody was sad. I don't know. Maybe I am genuinely reading into this too much, but I felt like this. I don't know what the dynamic is between Mohsen Naqvi and Mohammad Rizwan. To me, from the outside, it feels like a yes man situation, which I'm kind of scared of because, again, Mohsen Naqvi is a person that knows nothing about cricket, knows nothing about cricket infrastructure. His advisors keep changing. So whatever his opinions are being formed, they're not staying for a long time. And those opinions are completely on glass, on ice, to just shatter immediately. So I don't know what to think of this. At the same time, a part of me also feels like, in Mission Impossible, where when you're going in and you think that another character is doing all these things, and then they pull out the mask and it's Tom Cruise. I feel like this situation is like if you pull off.
Hold up, yo! I didn't see that movie.
I mean,
spoilers.
Come on, everybody knows this, all right? So like, it's not a spoiler. It's like it's a thing that happens in Mission Impossible movies. They have these masks. You can pull it off, and it's another character doing something else, or like a Scooby-Doo situation where you go into a cartoon and when they pull out the mask of the villain, it's somebody they've already known. And I feel like this situation is very reminiscent of that, where if I pull off Rizwan's mask, it's going to be Babar Azam. And this is my quandary with this whole situation, is that I feel like we've just rehired Babar in a different skin. And I don't know how I feel about that. Unless I see some stats, this is again a little bit premature and a little bit unfair as well. We haven't seen Rizwan chair the captaincy of Pakistan cricket team internationally yet. We will in about a week's time. But I'm hesitant. I'm taking a step back. I'm reading the situation. I'm not making any claims. I'm just ironing out or weighing my little bit of frustration, a little bit of opinions on what I think the situation is. All in all, it's the only call that makes sense right now. I mean, there were calls of making Salman Agha captain right in front, and that would, I feel like, further deepen the strife between Mohammad Rizwan and the management, because it's like there's an elephant in the room. You guys keep ignoring it. I think at this point, you just give the elephant the captaincy and be like, run away, buddy.
My question is, who will we see next in a press conference with Mohsen Naqvi? Comment below, guess the cricketer. That's the game.
Bashar Sayed is next in the Mohsen Naqvi commentary. People really want you to be PCB chairman, bro. Tweets are out. I tweeted who's gonna coach Pakistan in Australia, and people were like, Bashar. Would you take the job?
If you're watching us on video, I'm wearing a PCB hat. I'm wearing a PCB jacket, not sponsored.
It's like the PCB merch store threw up on you, man.
At this point, wearing this, I can debut for Pakistan. And looking at the squads they picked,
green glasses, the whole thing.
I can make it. I can make the team. Just saying. I want to talk a bit about what Rizwan has been saying post getting captaincy. He's come out and said that I am not just the captain, but all 15 members of the Pakistan team are captains. I am just going to be there doing tosses and press conferences and signing match sheets.
Meaning that sort of Babar Azam is 115th captain again?
Indeed.
Do you want to look at it like that?
Indeed.
People are losing their minds right now.
Rizwan has actually come out quite ambitious. He is saying that he is eyeing the Champions Trophy, the next T20 World Cup, but also he is keeping in mind the Olympics, where cricket might be a sport being played for a gold medal.
2028. I feel like this
LA.
is, at the same time, this ambitious is a great word that you used. I would use another word, naive. I feel like if he thinks he's gonna survive post-Champions Trophy, I think that'll be a miracle. The way that things are rolling right now. If Rizwan survives captaincy post-Champions, if Rizwan survives captaincy to Champions Trophy, that itself will be a miracle.
The way things are going in the PCB, things changing overnight.
If Rizwan loses 6-0, he loses 3 ODIs, 3 T20s on the trot against Australia, it's over.
Well, here's the thing.
They will literally change him.
Change it to who?
Naseem Shah will give it to him. They'll give it to somebody else. This is how volatile the PCB is.
Whatever Akib says.
Whatever. Akib will take it himself. He'll come back in the greens. Like he'll dress up like you. He's back in the 15-man squad. I'm taking over the team. This is how close we are from total annihilation of the Pakistan cricket board.
Now, I was happy with Rizwan being announced as the ODI captain. In T20 eyes, my opinion is a bit different than what others may think. I think Rizwan's place in the T20 side itself is there's question marks on it. I feel like when I look at the Pakistan T20 team, I see immense potential. I see this is the format where Pakistan can actually advance and excel in. And I think that starts off with having a good top three. I am not a fan of having anchors in the top three. I've said this many times in the podcast if you've been listening for a long time. And I've got some numbers to back that up. Rizwan's strike rate in the power play of overall T20Is is 118. The power play is the phase where only 2 fielders are outside. And this is the phase where you want to be scoring as much runs as possible. And another alarming stat is Rizwan's strike rate in the power play of T20 World Cups. That is 98. Less than a run a ball. I think because of these two numbers, we can probably go for a more attacking option in the top three. If you have Rizwan and Babar in the top three, that's basically having two anchors in the top three. That's a formula that has not been working for Pakistan. And knowing Rizwan and what he's done in the past, he would likely go for the opening slot. And if Pakistan keeps playing in this same manner, I doubt Pakistan will win anything in terms of trophies until Rizwan is captain.
I think your fear is that Rizbar is back.
That is my fear.
For the 8th time.
That is my fear, yes.
And so what if Rizwan takes it for the team, goes at number 5, Babar goes at 3, and we have 2 new openers? How does that make you feel?
Sorry, who goes at 5?
Rizwan goes at 5, Babar goes at 3, and you have 2 new openers.
I don't think Rizwan has the power hitting game in him to go at number 5. I think he started off his career at number 5 and 6, and his strike rate was 100 maybe. He hardly had any impactful innings. He has improved his power hitting since, but I still feel like if Rizwan plays, it has to be in the top 3. If not, we should go for a more attacking, wicket-keeping option.
How will that happen now that Rizwan is captain? I think he's made it vocal in multiple press conferences, multiple media outlets of the fact how he's been against the people who were against Rizbar. So when Rizbar was broken up in Shaheen's tenure, brief tenure, he was the one who came out vocally and was like, we're just trying things out. This is not black and white. This is not in concrete. We're just mixing things up. And lo and behold, things got, changed really quickly right after.
Salman Agha is out of the T20 team.
Shocking. Again, I think if you look at the Pakistan squad, let's stick to the Australia squad for 1 second. It's not who is announced, it's who's not announced. That's what's the news here. It's not who isn't in the team or who is in the team. It's people who are not announced. Fakhar Zaman, blatant misjudgment, crime against Pakistan cricket for Fakhar Zaman not being included, not only in this, but in the central contract, which we'll also discuss briefly, I'm assuming. But him, Salman Agha not in the T20 setup at all. Mohammad Haris, another blatant vacant name. Where are these people? What are these people doing? Mohammad Haris is your emerging Pakistan team, the Pakistan Shaheen's captain, and he doesn't make it into your 15 and your Pakistan. Like, who else goes in there? Like, that reeks of a little bit of self-inflicted, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Can we talk about Salman Agha as vice captain?
1 second, but I want to talk about how insecurity is the word that I was looking like.
Okay.
About how the lack of Mohammad Haris in the squad just seems like insecurity to me. Like Hasibullah is being backed again and again and again. Mohammad Haris already has played a World Cup. He's proven to you what he can do. And his inclusion or lack thereof in this team, in all 4 squads, not even Zimbabwe, you can't take Mohammad Haris as Zimbabwe? Really?
Well, if you're going there, let's go there. That is my theory. I think if you look at wicketkeeper batsmen in Pakistan, who is a attacking top order, young, up and coming wicketkeeper batsman who might threaten Rizwan's place in the team?
Mohammad Haris.
And Mohammad Haris is somebody Pakistan invested in. He has played a T20 World Cup. He has played an Asia Cup. He traveled with the Pakistan team to India for the ODI World Cup. He's been captaining in the Champions Cup. He's been captaining 2 years in a row for the Emerging Asia Cup. He's won once, went to semis just recently, and somehow he is nowhere to be seen. Look at his numbers in the PSL: 25 average, 170 plus strike rate. This is insane numbers for a top order batsman. The only one of the few batsmen in white ball cricket in Pakistan who can come in and change the course of the game, somebody who plays for the team, somebody who is an attacking, fierce, brave batsman who can take the game on. And for him to be sidelined alongside probably Pakistan's biggest match winner in Fakhar Zaman, it just shows you where Pakistan is right now. I am thoroughly disappointed in not seeing Mohammad Haris, and in the strategic placement of Hasibullah in every single Pakistan squad. And Mohammad Haris also has not been granted the central contract. So you can probably say that he is out of Pakistan's plans the next 1 year at least.
And it doesn't make sense because you kind of no hate to Hasibullah here. He's definitely a valiant prospect. But Mohammad Haris has been in the system for the past 3.5, 4 years. He's played a World Cup, like you said. He has great achievements. He's actually a fierce person. He's one of those people that plays out of his skin, plays out of character if needed. And it just seems like for whatever reason, he's ticked everybody in the PCB the wrong way, and nobody's there to stand up for him. Maybe in a world where Babar Azam remains captain and actually wins some stuff, he has some leeway and actually can pull some stuff out and pull some things in, have a Mohammad Haris in the squad. But even then, like, it seems like this management has moved on from him, and it's a shame. It's honestly a shame. It doesn't make sense. What's worse is what they've done to Fakhar Zaman. They're trying to make Fakhar Zaman the sacrificial lamb of this whole situation. This man goes out, tweets in favor of somebody who he thinks should be captain, or he thinks should be in the team, or in favor of a little bit more stability in the PCB management. And the PCB management, instead of going out and thinking, hey, maybe we should introspect a little bit, reprimands him, tells him, the Mohsin Naqvi comes out straight up, says, yes, this is about the tweet. But not only the tweet, XYZ, but yes, about the tweet. What are you on about, bro? Like, people cannot come out here and we've had this discussion many times before when we try to reach out Pakistani players who are centrally contracted against the PCB, and we straight up hear either a no or a ask the PCB, or I can't do it because the PCB won't let me.
At the same time, we can see Pat Cummins casually walk into the Great Cricketer studio and do a podcast for an hour.
Indian cricketers are on Ranveer's podcast all the time.
Ravi Ashwin is running his own channel.
Yeah, and that's all fair game. But lo and behold, if you give a little bit of leeway, a little bit of open credit, a little bit of freedom of speech, for God's sake, to these players, he's like, Mohsin Naqvi is like, I do not want to set a precedence where players can come out and tweet about anything and everything.
This one former player, when I asked him to come on the podcast, he's like, can you send an email to PCB and then copy me? And if they say yes, I'll come on, which never eventually happened. But it is disappointing. I have a theory, and hear me out. Anybody in the past year and a half who has ever been a threat to Rizbar has been eliminated. You look back at the 2023 Pakistan versus Afghanistan series that happened in the UAE, where Pakistan sent a young team, PSL performers, who was opening there. Saim Ayub and Mohammad Haris both have been dropped. Fakhar Zaman was the opener in the Sarfaraz Ahmed captaincy era, where Pakistan won 11 series in a row. They were number one T20I side. Fakhar Zaman was forced to leave his spot as an opener to go at number 3 and then go to number 4. So everybody is being flexible for Rizbar except for Rizbar itself. When Shaheen dropped Rizwan to 1 down, or I think he dropped Babar to 1 down in the New Zealand series, Rizwan comes out in the post-match saying, oh no, we're just experimenting. Oh, it's not a good idea to break a successful opening pair. That did not sit right with me, right? Rizwan in his post-captaincy interviews has said that he wants players to be flexible, and that includes himself as well, which I thought was quite interesting because he has been anything but flexible for the Pakistan team. In ODIs, when he was initially batting at number 5, he came in a post-match press conference saying that he wants to personally bat number 4. Lo and behold, next series, he is batting at number 4.
Yeah.
When Shaheen dropped him to be one down, he came out and said that he wants to be opening. Lo and behold, next series, he is back opening.
This is what kind of rubs me the wrong way with Mohammad Rizwan is that he will come out and whatever, like, there's a lot of internal gossip and internal talk that happens within the team. You know, the people like stuff, people dislike stuff. We saw this in the Islamabad United camp, so we can speak about this firsthand. There's a lot of things that get moved around. You know, people have grievances. They talk to the captain, they talk to the coach, etc., etc. But what I feel that Rizwan does is that he will, whatever his trial and tribulations are, he will bring it amongst the press and let them decide what's going to happen. And there's obviously external pressures on everybody, and nobody wants to be the front page headline the next day if Pakistan loses or Pakistan does horribly. So they cave in. And that's the wrong precedence that's being set. And I feel like that's for Rizwan to come in as captain, he may bring that ethos with him. And that's not what you want. Literally, 11 of these guys who are going on these tours are youngins. You don't want them to set that precedence within themselves as well. So I'm a little bit hesitant, but I would come out here fairly and unequivocally say how I am absolutely disappointed in the fact that Fakhar Zaman and Mohammad Haris were nowhere to be seen. These guys, Fakhar Zaman is the present of Pakistan cricket. Mohammad Haris is the future of Pakistan cricket. And the fact that these two have been a sidelined, obliterated, and some of them reprimanded for their thoughts is disgusting, abysmal, cheap, small-minded, and just plain old unfair to these players.
Some of it is actually, it's revenge. You look at some of the players who are missing. Fakhar Zaman tweeted for Babar Azam, dropped from the team, dropped from the central contract. He has the most ODI hundreds in the last decade amongst any team. He has 7 ODI hundreds in that period. And I think it's shameful that he's been dropped. Fakhar Zaman tweeted, like I said, drop. Osama Mir complained to the chairman about not getting an NOC last year. Actually, this year, Osama Mir has been dropped from the team, dropped from central contract, and we're seeing examples of players being used to set an example. If you go out to speak against the PCB, even within the PCB to the chairman, you will be made an example of.
Fascism at its peak. That's all I'm going to say.
Let's look at the squad that have been announced.
We should talk about Salman Agha because I know I overstepped that a little bit by being all passionate about the whole Haris and Fakhar thing. But Salman Agha being announced as a white ball captain is a
vice captain.
Yeah, what did I say?
White ball captain.
Yeah. Well, maybe I spoke a bit prematurely, but
do you know something we don't?
I mean, I'm wearing the United hat. I may know something. I don't know. Him being announced as vice captain of the white ball cricket team. I cannot. I'm all jumbled up after that rant. It's a good time. Salman Agha, like we said, fans of the podcast, alumni of the podcast, friend of the podcast, in the DMs, we wished him. We congratulated him.
How is it a good sign?
I don't know.
Where have you seen him captain?
I haven't seen a captain at all, but he seems like he has a good head.
Why has he been announced vice captain of T20I side?
It's forward looking.
How many games has he played in T20I?
0.
How many good PSLs does he have?
1.
Cool. That tells you everything.
Okay, so Bashar is anti-Salman.
No, I'm just saying.
I didn't know that was your take.
No, this is the point. This is the problem with Pakistan cricket. Salman Agha is a great player. He's a wonderful player. He's improved immensely in the last 2 years. But you're taking Salman Agha's red ball performances and you're like, hey, because you're so good in red ball, how about you become Pakistan's white ball captain? I mean, he has yet to make his debut at T20Is. He was sort of an in and out feature in the ODI team. He was competing for a spot with Iftikhar Ahmed. I think he played maybe 2 or 3 World Cup matches that happened in India. He was on the bench for the most part. And now he's suddenly one of the most integral parts of your white ball team.
He's single-handedly the spine of this Pakistan batting order. I don't know what you're talking about.
In test matches.
And ODIs. Like he was there in the World Cup. He was there at Asia Cup.
And what did he perform?
He tried his best. I mean, nobody did anything in those tournaments. Like, you cannot hold that against him, but he's definitely one of those players who's going out, performing, putting in the hours, putting in the grind, putting in the grease, and making sure that Pakistan is first before everything. Like, the fact that he still plays at number 6 and 7 in test matches is crazy. He has a 55 plus average he plays with the tail for the most part. Give him a spot at 4 and 5, maybe he'll do even better.
I think having a vice captain is pointless if you don't follow up on it. When Babar Azam was captain, Shadab Khan was vice captain. He captained for
One series.
a couple of matches when Babar was injured, but eventually he did not follow up with the vice captaincy.
But I think you're generalizing a thing. I think you have to understand why that follow up did not happen. Shadab Khan lost all form. Honestly, Shadab Khan had his form that he did in late 2021, early 2022. I think Pakistan would have saved itself from a lot of this debacle. I think Shadab Khan would have been the right ball captain, rightfully so. And, if he was still performing at that level, I mean, like, don't come at me just because I'm wearing a United hat, guys. But if Shadab Khan, you would know this, and I know this, that if Shadab Khan was at the peak level that he was the rightful successor of this whole campaign. There would not be a Shaheen versus Babar. There would not be a Babar versus the world, because Shadab would be the next in line. And that would be normal. But Shadab I think lost all form. And that's just crazy.
It's unfortunate. Yeah.
So you have to give it a little bit of grain of salt. Like, you can't just go out and be like, what happened to that? Salman Agha, if he continues his form and just, shows up and gets a few wins under his belt as white ball captain, because I believe he's going to be captain in the Zimbabwe tour for T20Is. They're playing a fresh team, which is amazing, which is actually one of the few things that I'm shocked that this rampant, insane PCB management has the head to be like, hey, let's just not give our star players a shot at the Zimbabwe series and get the youngins in. If he goes out there, you have a player that is dedicated, that is from the system, that knows Pakistan cricket well and true. Let him go out there, let him prove himself, give him a few games. If he becomes captain early on and proves himself, we have a brilliant captain in our hands.
Do you know who was India's white ball vice captain when Rohit Sharma was captain? It was Hardik Pandya.
I was going to say
Hardik Pandya captained India in a lot of series where India sent their B team against maybe a Sri Lanka. And what happened when Rohit Sharma retired from T20Is was coach changes. Gautam Gambhir comes in, and Hardik Pandya, who was supposed to be the next successor to Rohit Sharma, was sidelined from captaincy. Surya Kumar Yadav was sort of an outside selection for captain. And now he is currently India's T20I captain.
Pandya, because of his off-screen antics and his constant injury-prone, body, was also a reason that they didn't follow through with that.
I agree. I did hear a lot about the off-screen thing from my Indian friends.
There we go.
That he is not really.
You don't even have to hear from the Indian friends. You can just look at how, when ESPN when Cricket Info is subtweeting your player, that's when you know that something's going on. So again, I hear what you're saying. I understand what your bottom line is, that none of this is real and all of this is a fairy tale and we live in the real world. You'll believe it when it happens. And I'm right there with you. But if Salman Agha is the rightful successor of this white ball tenure, I'm okay with that.
Pakistan's upcoming schedule. Pakistan has 3 ODIs and 3 T20Is coming versus Australia in Australia, followed by 3 ODIs and 3 T20Is versus Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe. And the following are the squads announced. I think if you look at the ODI World Cup as sort of the base layer from where we're coming from, because Pakistan has not played any ODIs since the ODI World Cup, from that 15-man squad, only 6 players have made it to this next ODI squad announced against Australia.
I think we keep saying, oh, new era, new era, new era. This is the epitome of new era. The fact that only 6 people have been retained and 9 of them are just out now. That's crazy. Let's look at some of the names that are like not in the squad anymore. That's people like Iftikhar Ahmed, gone. Saud Shakil, not in the squad. Crazy to me. I think I thought that they would actually follow through with that. Saud Shakil being back in. Can
someone just check on where's Haris Suhail? Haven't heard from him in a while.
Every couple podcasts, you bring that name up, and people are like, "Oh my God, Haris Suhail! What a talent!"
He was such a good player,
and he's gone now. So let's move on.
Where he's off the grid?
You think
Has he seen a ghost?
You think he's kidnapped or something?
Maybe he's seen a ghost.
I mean, do you remember who was it? Zulkarnain Heather?
No,
I'm just saying. No.
Anyways,
you brought it up. I'm just saying we have
because you mentioned Saud Shakil. Saud Shakil was like the replacement for Haris Suhail in that ODI World Cup squad.
And who's replacing Saud Shakil now? Kamal Ghulam. Who's in the squad?
KG's knocking.
KG's knocking. KG's definitely knocking. Yeah. So who else is gone?
Fakhar's out.
Yeah, Fakhar's out. Shadab's out. Iftikhar's out.
Wasim Jr. is
Wasim
out.
Jr. is out. Usama Mir is out. Muhammad Nawaz is out. Like, wow.
Q can backward point beat Mohammad Nawaz.
You can't, stop it. People have seen it. Everybody's seen it.
Watch it again.
Watch it again. Yeah, for sure. People who are in. Saim Ayub.
Hassan Ali is out. Osama Mir is out.
I said that. Usama Mir.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I may have missed Hassan Ali, but people who are in. Saim Ayub. Hasibullah. Kaman Ghulam. Irfan Niazi. Arafat Minhas. Amir Jamal. Naseem Shah. Hasnain and Faisal Akram are in. These are the boys that take their respective places. Thoughts on that?
So you drop Saim Ayub from T20Is, but you bring him into ODIs?
Does not make sense.
Make it make sense.
Does not make sense. I was shocked to not see him in the squad. I thought, wow, that doesn't make sense to me at all.
Because it seems like you're investing in that Saim Abdullah opening partnership. So
make it happen.
Yeah.
Do it. But again, that's the whole Rizbar theory that you have, that they don't want to break that in T20. So Saim, again, becomes a threat. Sideline.
Yeah.
But to be fair to the non-induction of Saim in the T20I squad, he hasn't done any favors for himself for the way that he's performed. Like, the fact that they're backing him up is still crazy to me.
They're backing potential.
They are backing potential, and he definitely has a lot of that. It's just that Saim Ayub, he needs to step up. He needs to find his maturity. He needs to start playing responsible innings, because a person like me who's already a Saim Ayub stan is losing patience.
I feel like we've been saying this since
his debut, bro.
Since the PSL.
Honestly. Crazy. He needs to step up. Saim, step up, bro. ODIs against Zimbabwe. Check that a little bit.
So amongst these players, Tayyip Tahir makes the ODI squad. Abrar Ahmed comes back. Shahnawaz Dahani and Ahmed Daniel also in this squad.
A lot of these names are names that I've heard for the first time. And definitely people who are following Pakistan cricket just casually have not even heard at all.
Not me.
Who is Ahmed Daniel?
Ahmed Daniel is a Lahore Qalandars prodigy. He actually played this really good innings in the Champions Cup. I think he scored a 50 coming lower to the order.
There we go.
He balls quick. He is almost Pakistan's Bumrah in terms of he comes with a very short run up and he balls like around 140 clicks. He's played the Big Bash for the Melbourne Stars. We played a few matches there. He was a part of Lahore Qalandars team, but did not get a chance to consistently play because of Shaheen, Haris, and Zaman.
All right, let's play this game. Who is that player? Who is Faisal Akram?
Faisal Akram is a left-arm Chinaman. One of the few Chinaman bowlers. Sorry, I shouldn't say Chinaman. That's not allowed anymore. Left arm.
Orthodox?
Unorthodox.
Unorthodox.
So he's basically a left arm leg spin kind of thing. And he's a pretty interesting talent. He was spotted a few years ago in the Pakistan domestic circuit. He was picked by Multan Sultans. Multan Sultans invested quite heavily into him. Hasn't gotten as many PSL matches, but he's somebody to look out for. He could be Pakistan's version of Kuldeep Yadav if they do groom him that way.
Who is Tayyip Tahir? Is that Shoaib Malik's?
Tayyip Tahir. Shoaib Malik's nephew is Mohammad Huraira.
Okay.
Tayyip Tahir is a right-handed top order, middle order batsman. He's pretty good. He's played a few T20Is for Pakistan. He was playing for Karachi Kings in the PSL.
Who is Qasim Akram?
Qasim Akram, we know. He was in Islamabad United.
Yeah.
Former Pakistan under-19 captain. He was playing the emerging Asia Cup just recently in Oman. Played pretty good. Off-spin bowling, plus middle order batsman, gun fielder, exciting talent.
Who is Umair bin Yusuf?
Umair bin Yusuf is the guy we met in the lobby.
No, I know. I remember.
Okay, you know.
We had a good conversation with him.
We met him in Islamabad. He's a really good batsman.
Is he from Karachi?
He is from Karachi. Some will say he's there in the Karachi quota.
The agenda is alive and well. I love it.
So Chuki Loud, Umair bin Yusuf, and they gotta have somebody from Karachi, you know? So he's a pretty solid batsman.
Yeah, I love it. Let's go into the...
Wait, you missed someone.
Who did I miss?
The most exciting talent.
Sufyan Muqeem.
No.
Chandal Khan.
Arafat bin Haas.
Bro. There's so many people in the squad.
Arafat bin Haas is the next Imad Wasim, the next Mohammad Nawaz. I hope not. Of Pakistan.
Whoa.
No, because I hope he performs better than Imad and Nawaz.
There we go.
But in terms of roles, he is a left arm spinner and a left-handed lower order batsman who's a hitter. One of the most exciting talents in the Pakistan circuit going around. He played for Karachi Kings in the PSL. He was quite brilliant there. He bowled this one spell against Peshawar Zalmi, 4 overs, 1 wicket for 11 runs. Babar Azam could not pick him. That's how good he was in that spell.
I mean, that's not saying much. Bad's having a really bad rut against spin in all forms.
Good to see Amr Jamal in the white ball squad. I was an advocate of him being a Pakistan player in all three formats. So Pakistan investing in Amr Jamal, I think, is the right call.
Upset that he's not in the T20 squad though.
Is he?
I didn't see
Okay.
him. I may be wrong, but I don't think I saw him in the T20 squad, which doesn't make sense to me. If you're playing him in ODIs, why not T20s? He's actually arguably better in T20s, and we'll give you an extra bowling and a lower order.
He's also a better batsman for T20 eyes. He's more of a attacking batsman.
Yeah, so it doesn't 100% does not make sense to me, but I like it.
Hasnain's back, thanks to his performance in the Champions Cup, and I think Pakistan's fast bowling in Australia will be one of the most exciting things to be keeping an eye out on. Shaheen, Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah, Haris Rove, Mohammad Hasnain, Amr Jamal.
Do you think there is a scenario where they play all four of them with Amr Jamal in it?
No, I think what should happen is they should play 3 seamers plus Amr Jamal and then a spinner.
Who's going to be the spinner that they play then?
I think it will likely be... if they're looking for batting depth, they could go for Arfat bin Haas. If they're looking for like a mystery spin option, they could go for Faisal Akram.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Faisal Akram is still very young, very raw.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think all of these guys, a lot of them are undercooked. This is a very, very young team.
This is a very weird tour to send a very young team in. Do you agree?
Pakistan, even with their A team, might get whitewashed 3-0. So for them to send a young team, I think it will be tough. Good teams are typically made with a good combination of seniors and juniors. This, to me, looks like a team that is overpowered with youngsters. And I think with PCB, you can't really tell if it's long-term planning or if it's just a panic mode. You know, if they lose to Australia with this young team, they could come back and be like, yo, it was a young team, not my fault. But I would have loved to see a few more experienced guys, like maybe Usama Mir as a leg spinner. He was one of the top wicket takers in the last PSL. He's been a pretty good spinner in white ball cricket. And he was the guy who Pakistan was depending on post Shadab Khan. So for him to be sidelined completely is a bit shocking for me. And like the Pakistan has no leg spinners at all in this team.
This is the Pakistan 11 that Mazhar Arshad said was his ODI 11 against Australia. He said, Saim Ayub, Abdullah Shafiq, Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan, Salman Agha, Irfan Niazi, Arafat bin Haas, Shaheen Afridi, Mohammad Hasnain, Naseem Shah, and Haris Rove. That's his 11 against Australia. Now, when you put it like that, and he, by the way, played all 4 seamers and it took Amr Jamal out. When you say it like that, when you present it like that to me, I like it. I'm not saying this is a team that's going to go out and beat Australia 3-0. I just think this is the team that has the right balance of seniority and juniorship.
Yeah, I didn't make my 11 because I was hoping to make that on the series preview we do in a few days.
But what do you think about this?
I think
this is probably my 11.
It's decent.
The only thing I would probably do is that we just discussed is maybe if I wanted to take Mohammad Hasnain out and put Amr Jamal in.
Yeah.
But the way that Hasnain has been shining, his new action, his pace, he's probably the only bowler.
Well, you can even take Haris Rove out.
You could from ODIs, yeah. That wouldn't be a bad call. But again, if you're just going straight on pace, Haris Rove and Hasnain are the only bowlers typically right now bowling over 143.
Yeah.
So I mean that's always a plus, especially in tracks in the Australian turf, which is going to bounce and zoom.
So only 6 of the 15 people who played the last ODI World Cup match have been retained. We are going into the era of Saim Ayub, Abdullah Shafiq. The prolific opening partnership of Fakhar Zaman and Imam ul Haq has come to an end.
We haven't talked about Imam ul Haq at all.
We have not. I think
you broke the story. Well, it didn't break the story, but you told me off screen.
I even said it on the podcast.
A month ago, Bashar said that there are rumors that the person, quote unquote person, and again, allegedly, don't sue me, Imam, don't come after me, come on the podcast. I think it'd be a great guest. But what was told, well, I don't know how you found this out, but you told to me that there is someone who is leaking news to the press, and that someone is Imam ul Haq. And the reports of that have been coming out now for the past 3 or 4 days. And I was like, damn, Bashar, who's your insider, man? What the hell?
Yeah, that was sort of an ongoing thing. I think performance-wise, Imam probably still does make the team. 48 average, a number of centuries. Him and Fakhar at the top were Pakistan's rock in the past few years in ODIs. Really helped Pakistan get to the number 1 spot in the rankings. Unfortunately, did not have as good of an Asia Cup and a World Cup as they would have liked to, because that was sort of what the crescendo was building up to. unfortunately. But I think Imam's dropping it goes beyond his performances. You do not want a rat in the dressing room who is feeding inside news of the dressing room to the media, which is then being leaked.
Do you have examples of what news were fed?
I don't have examples. But I mean, I think it's somebody came on record saying that, I think it was Dr. Zaman who came out saying that Imam was dropped because of his habit of leaking stuff.
Closeness to the media.
Correct. But I'm not sure if it's just Imam. It could be more players as well. But Imam has been sort of made an example of. Also, looking forward, I think, yes, Imam has performed, but one of the issues in his batting in ODIs is his strike rate. If Pakistan wants to go out there and play modern day cricket, what everybody else is playing, then a strike rate of, I think, 81, 82 in ODIs overall is just below par.
Yeah. It's interesting to see because Pakistan finds itself sort of turning over a new leaf. I don't know if willingly or unwillingly, or Pakistan Cricket Board being forced into a position where they have to. But if they do go with Abdullah Shafiq and Saim Ayub, that is a breath of fresh air.
I think Imam did his job. The time where he came as an opener with Fakhar Zaman, our problem was since the whole Misbah era that Pakistan would be 15 for 2, 20 for 3,
and 6
and
overs.
we needed stability at the top.
Yeah.
That's where Imam and Babar would come in, form partnerships. Despite them being a bit slow sometimes, we would at least have respectable totals that our bowling attack, which was quite formidable back in the day, was able to defend. But now I think Pakistan should be looking forward, looking ahead, and thank Imam for his services. Let's move on.
He hasn't retired yet. I think the way these things work, people come out. There's a whole cycle. Do you think Shadab is done? Shadab is playing
Listen. If Imam is friends with the media, he will use the media to run agendas to ask why he is not being picked in the team.
We'll talk about agendas in a minute. But do you actually think that Shadab Khan is done from the Pakistan cricket team? Like, what I think is Shadab Khan, he's been announced as captain of one of the domestic circuit teams for the Qadi-Azam Trophy, which I think is amazing. That's great. He did tell us off record during the Islamabad camp that that's something he's looking into, that he's going to take the year off. He's going to go improve his bowling, improve his batting, improve his captaincy. I don't think anybody has any doubts about his captaincy and even his batting. It's been pretty rock solid. It's his bowling, which he was known for, which is his asset. Everything else is a plus. His fielding is a plus. His captaincy is a plus. But him being a formidable leg spin, wrist spin bowler, like you mentioned, no, we don't have one in this entire squad. We need him. We need him back, and we need him back good.
Yeah, I think Shadab right now is captaining, I believe, Rawalpindi.
I think so.
And they were playing a game against Multan, and I saw a picture the PCB posted of Shadab and Imam at the toss. So good to see Shadab investing in himself. I don't think we've seen the last of Shadab Khan.
I hope not.
Because he's been granted a Category C contract from the PCB. So this is more like, Shadab, you're going on a break. We want you back in the future. And I definitely think Shadab Khan is an asset once he is back in his bowling form. You were looking at a few footages of him bowling in the 2022 T20 World Cup, and you were like, yo, where is this Shadab Khan?
I was watching the game, the Pakistan-India game in Melbourne, and I think he was 2 overs, 5 runs or something like that.
Even the
extremely well done.
One of his most underrated performances, which have gone under the radar because of Matthew Wade's brilliance, is his 4 wickets against Australia in the 2021 T20 World Cup semi-final.
Pakistan win that game, he's the man of the match.
Wickets of David Warner, Mitchell Marsh, Glenn Maxwell, and I think I'm missing, was it Steve Smith?
What were they, 70 for 5 or something?
Yeah.
At some point, because of him, his spell was insane.
Don't remind me.
Yeah. So again, haven't seen the last of Shadab Khan, and love that he's actually going out and working on himself. That's what I like to see from my star players.
Let's look at Pakistan's T20I squad announced for Australia and Zimbabwe. Again, looking at the 2024 T20 World Cup as our baseline, only 7 players of the 15-man squad in the last T20 World Cup have made it past that into this series. Some of the players who have missed out, Saim Ayub, Fakhar Zaman, Iftikhar Ahmed, Azam Khan, Shadab Khan, Imad Wasim, Muhammad Amir, and Abrar Ahmed have not made it past the last World Cup squad. If you ask me, I feel like we've seen the last of Imad and Amir.
Yeah.
In the Pakistan shirt.
What was frustrating to me in the past week was that I was hearing rumors online that the PCB reached out to Muhammad Amir for the ODI squad, maybe for the Champions Trophy, and I was like, really? That's insane. if that rumor is even circulating, that shows how low the PCB are willing to go. They basically uprooted the entire T20 setup. They uprooted all the players that actually deserved a chance to be in the USA and West Indies. Well, they never went to the West Indies, but all those players that you are now taking to Australia that were supposed to be making their debut before that, that whole thing was uprooted because you wanted to facilitate two players who one cost you the USA game, one cost you the India game. So, I mean, PCB do better, but I don't expect that from you guys. The people who are now inducted in, Sahibzada is in, Sahibzada
I
Farhan,
feel like Pakistan's top three will be Saibzada Farhan, Rizwan, Babar.
and then in the T20s.
What do you think? Yeah.
Um,
Or if he wants to go with a bit of a unorthodox manner, Hasibullah could open with Rizwan, and then Babar could go with number 3.
I don't think Babar opens.
You don't think it's opens?
I don't think Babar opens. I think if that happens, Rizwan will be given a lot of flack. I don't think Babar is popular right now. I don't think the same stamina that Babar had a year ago, even where the Rizbar, hashtag sochna bhi mana hai was prevalent. That's not the case anymore. If Babar opens, that'll be crazy for me to see. Babar goes 3. I think you have that number 1 spot open, and then you can fix whoever you want. I wanted to see Simon there. Simon Rizwan opening. I would have liked that. That would have been nice for me. But if you
Or
want to go
I
with
mean, if
Sahibzada,
Fakhar Zaman, so Fakhar Zaman has a ongoing knee issue for the past couple of years, and he has failed his recent fitness test. It is being said that Fakhar has requested the PCB not to consider him for these upcoming Australia Zimbabwe tours, so he can do some rehab, work on his fitness, and then in January he will go for another fitness test. So if that happens, maybe we can look at Fakhar Zaman going back into the spot where he belongs as an opener.
but there's not a lot of T20Is being played in that.
I mean, if you're future looking the next T20 World Cup in India,
and yeah,
Fakhar could be your guy to open.
if
He is the most impactful player. He is
seniority,
a guy.
maturity, responsibility,
He's got the dog in him.
fearless, has got the dog in him, man. That's honestly the case.
Jahandad Khan been picked in T20I for the first time. A left arm bowler, a left-handed hard-hitting batsman. I think a pretty interesting inducted here. I think he has taken over for Amir Jamal in this format. Again, very, very young squad, very raw squad. Most of these guys have not even played 25 first-class matches. So it'll be interesting to see how they do against Australia. In Australia, where typically some of the great Pakistan sides have gone and struggled.
Yeah, so this is why, again, I saw a wonderful tweet on Twitter where somebody said, man, you don't send your newbies to Australia. You send your best players to Australia so they can win. Like, you don't send teams to try out in Australia. You go to Australia to win. And this is why I feel like this is a bit of a miscalculation here, especially in the T20I section, where you send so many newbies to an Australian tour. Like, you literally, it's like when you brought in Noman and Sajid, you left them out in the deep end and were like, swim. And this is what it feels like to these guys. I don't know. If you want to move over to the Zimbabwe tour squad that was announced, that seems a little bit more aligned for me with what the future of the cricket looks like and how you should actually be playing these tours, especially the ones that have maybe a little bit of less of a formidable opponent. You send your B team, C team, make sure they get games under their belt. And that's what they're doing here in the ODIs and T20s.
Babar, Shaheen, and Naseem rested for the tour of Zimbabwe, which I thought was quite interesting. Some young blood inducted in that squad against Zimbabwe. Tayyib Tahir is in there, Qasim Akram, Ahmed Daniel, and Hasnain will also have an opportunity to ball in Zimbabwe.
And then in the T20Is, which is most significant for me, I can't pinpoint a single person that has played more than 10 T20Is, except, not even someone, actually. Not a single person who's played more than 10 T20Is. Haris Rauf might be the only one in the T20I squad against Zimbabwe. Anybody else that you see, Bashar? Maybe Usman Khan. That's about it. Like, it's a completely new team. This is like not even the Shaheens. This is a completely new Pakistan cricket team.
But this is good. I mean, you want to test your guys out against Zimbabwe, against the Sri Lankan C team if that happens. In the past, Babar Azam caught a lot of flack for sending Pakistan's A team against the Netherlands, against the Zimbabwe, against the Nepal. So I think this is the right opportunity, and this is a right step in the right direction by sending some young blood to Zimbabwe, getting them some exposure, and building Pakistan's bench strength, which we have not had in the past 3 years.
A rare W for the PCB. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
What do we got next?
Let's look at some of the central contract stuff from the PCB.
This is so exciting, by the way.
So, firstly, Pakistan's central contract period that this is being applied for is starting from July.
This is premature to announce. Actually, you know what?
July 24. They're late 4 months.
Actually, you're right. Now that I think about it, yes. Oh my God, never mind. I read that as July 25 to 26, but no, it's 24 to 25. They're 3 months late, 4 months late. Wow.
Shaheen Shah demoted from Category A to Category B. Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan have retained their spots as the only two guys in the Category A contract for the PCB. Looking at Babar's recent performances, some would say maybe he could also have been demoted to B.
You think that would have been headlines if Babar was demoted to B?
Absolutely.
That would have been headlines, right? Like
Yeah.
That would have been insane news. What is the salary difference between A and B? Do you know?
I feel like A makes 60 lakhs PKR per month, and then B makes like 40 or 45 lakh PKR per month.
Shan Masood and B, what are your thoughts on that?
Shamsud and B is not a surprise. The surprise is the brackets
The
where
asterisk.
it says subject to captaincy. That is a wonderful way to give your captain security. So it just shows that Pakistan is still going on a series by series basis, and Shan Masood is walking on thin ice.
Yeah, even after winning 2-1. I guess this was announced. This was announced after they won, but these contracts are probably in place before that. If they're actually if they're actually talking about July 2024 to 2025, I mean, it's tough. It's actually kind of embarrassing. Not gonna lie.
If you look at the players who were not retained on the central contract, I think that will give you a better story of what's really happened and what the Pakistan's plans for the next 1 year be up until June at least. Fakhar Zaman not retained, Imam ul Haq not retained, Mohammad Nawaz, Imad Wasim, Fahim Ashraf, Hassan Ali, Iftikhar Ahmed, Mohammad Haris, Sarfaraz Ahmed, Shahnawaz Dahani, Osama Mir, and Zaman Khan are no longer in Pakistan's cricketing plans for the next 6 to 7 months at least. Disappointing. Zaman Khan, at least, I think he was a pretty good prospect in white ball. We played him out of nowhere in an Asia Cup match.
A do or die match.
He played a few T20Is. I think he is somebody who is unorthodox. Slingy action like a Malinga. Balls, great slower ones, good variation.
Good death bowler.
Good death bowler. So he's somebody Pakistan could have invested in. Disappointed not to see him in the white ball squad.
People who are newly inducted. We should talk about that a little bit. We got a lot of people in Category D. We got Amir Jamal, Hasibullah, KG, Khurram Shahzad, Mir Hamza, Muhammad Abbas Afridi, Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Huraira. That's Shoaib Malik's nephew, I believe. Muhammad Irfan Khan, Muhammad Wasim Jr., and Usman Khan. I mean, I thought Usman Khan was done and dusted, but apparently here's your Category D.
I am looking forward to see how he does in the pacey, bouncy conditions of Australia. In my observation, he has struggled against short stuff in Pakistan. So I'll be eyeing out on how he does in Australia.
Wasn't he one of the top run scorers in the Champions Cup, though?
He was. But again, that's Faisalabad, right?
I mean, still. So Faisalabad is where Mohammad Hasnain took 17 wickets. So something was happening for the Pacers, for sure.
I think he was playing on Hasnain's team. That's why.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, man, when I started this podcast, I never thought I'd be coming here and sitting here in front of you and discussing Pakistan contracts. That was not in my bingo card for when I launched this podcast, but here we are, riveting stuff. People are absolutely enthralled here. What else we got?
We're at the hour mark, and I think this is a time where we should talk about
the
recent biggest news.
Time flies when you're having fun, isn't it?
It is. Time flies. This is critical years of my life that I'm spending speaking into this mic on this podcast.
Young pre-married years. You know what I'm talking about.
Subscribe right now just because of that. Gary Kirsten has resigned as white ball coach. Insane turn of events. Gary signed a 2-year contract with the Pakistan Cricket Board, and he was Pakistan's white ball captain. That includes T20Is and ODIs. He coached Pakistan through a horrendous, disastrous T20 World Cup. Unfortunately, he was not able to coach Pakistan through a single ODI, and he has resigned 4 months into his job.
I mean, where do I even start with this? Like, when I heard the news, I could not believe it. I came racing to your room because we had just done a podcast, and I was like, yo, Gary Kirsten resigned. And ESPN Cricket Info had this on, like, big red breaking news. This happened. And The discourse around this on the social media was just insane for me to see. PCB paying off journalists so that they can start spreading rumors, allegedly, and just people coming out saying all kind of crap against Gary Kirsten. Um, the naysayers of Pakistan Cricket Board coming out and being like, haha, Gary told you shouldn't have come in. Vikrant Gupta saying, hey, does this mean he's available for Gujarat Titans? Like, Vikrant, take a chill pill, bro. Like, take a breather, read the room. What's going on? People are losing their minds. People are losing their jobs. And you're out here thinking about Gujarat Titans. Be better, man. And then you just come out and you're just like, I don't even know what's going on. I shouldn't be actually comparing this to 9/11, but here's what I'll think. When Gary Kirsten news came out, I thought it felt like the first tower was hit, and I was expecting the second tower to be hit, which is Jason Gillespie coming out like, this, by the way, I'm also resigning.
Wow, that's a wild analogy.
That's a good take, I think. I was like, I'm just waiting for Jason Gillespie to be like, this is it, I'm out. And instead, he came out and was like, you know what, I'll coach Pakistan through this next 6 T20Is.
He'll divert the
ODIs.
plane
But
over.
honestly, I'm telling you, if like Jason Gillespie will definitely go to Australia on the plane with Pakistan, I don't think he's coming back. I think he's like, yo, I'm gonna go home. Yeah, I'll do the side gig for six white ball games, but that's it. I'm done. And then as they're coming back on the flight, I could ball.
When I heard Pakistan was getting Gary Kirsten, Jason Gillespie for the job, mixed feelings. I was happy that Pakistan is engaging thorough professionals for this job, but at the same time, knowing the insane beast that the Pakistan Cricket Board is, having some of my friends work in the PCB and them firsthand telling me how toxic that whole place is and how the bureaucracy works within the PCB, I was skeptical of how long they would survive. We spoke to a Pakistan cricket team potential head coach who turned down the job in Islamabad, and his reasoning was that PCB is inconsistent. He could have a job today, not have a job tomorrow. Better to be doing some gigs on the side and not investing his full time with the PCB. And in hindsight, I think he made the right call.
We asked Zaman Khwaja when he was on the podcast if he would ever coach Pakistan. And he gave this similar answer. He's like, I don't even know if I'll be there like a week after I take the job in. Like by the time I fly from contest over into Lahore, I might not even be like have the gig anymore.
And if anything, Usman Khwaja is the qualified pilot here.
Yeah, fair enough. And this is what I'm thinking about. Like I saw a PCB picture or video of 7 of the players flying out to Australia. And 2 hours after that, I saw that Gary Kirsten resigned. So potentially Babar Azam, Shaheen Afridi, Mohammad Haris, and Naseem Shah were not even aware that their white ball coach had resigned while they were in the air.
Exactly. I think
so. By the time they landed in Australia, they were like, "Wait, we don't have a coach? What the hell?"
Let's talk about why Gary might have resigned. And I'll give you an example. When I was in university, I worked retail at this extremely toxic environment, and my boss was just an ass. And he didn't fire me, but he made the conditions around me so toxic that I had no choice but to resign. And I feel like that is sort of what happened here with Gary. The nature of Gary's appointment was such that he promised Pakistan Cricket Board 11 months of his time in Pakistan. He'd be away when the Pakistan team was playing Test cricket. He would be back in South Africa. He would be taking a month off every single year in periods where he has an opportunity. And he would come in a week before the Pakistan series, have a training camp, and then travel with the team. What the PCB noticed is that Gary has not been really fulfilling his commitments. I think what's sort of crazy here is that the PCB got Gary Kirsten to come to Faisalabad and watch the Champions Cup.
Yeah.
And then Gary was out after that. Another key factor, I think, is what Gary has been noticing happening in the red ball setup. Jason Gillespie was brought on as red ball head coach. And suddenly now, Aqib Javed is the be-all, end-all person, the go-to guy in the PCB.
The pharaoh.
And Jason Gillespie has no say in selection. The same thing I'm guessing happened with Gary Kirsten, where Gary is like, yo, I want to say in who gets picked. I want to say in who gets contracts. But Aqib Javed he's the emperor. He's the pharaoh. He's not letting people make the calls. And if Gary cannot have his say, what's the point of keeping the job?
Gary wanted Fakhar Zaman in, right? That's the vibe.
I'm not sure, but I think there were arguments on maybe who wants to be captain. There were rumors on if Mohammad Haris might be the Pakistan's T20 captain. He's not even in squads. That is the nature of being a Pakistan cricketer. But yeah, the funniest thing I think out of all this is this screenshot that Daniel Rasool shared, where it was a conversation that was happening on Reddit, where it said that, oh my God, Pakistan, this is not how you treat an ODI World Cup winning coach in Gary Kirsten. And somebody commented saying that, well, Pakistan's only ODI World Cup winning captain is in jail. So that tells you everything.
You know who I feel for in this whole entire situation? That's not even Gary Kirsten. It is Daniel Rasool. Man, this guy has the worst job, I feel like, in Pakistan cricket right now, which is covering every single thing that happens. He has to go out. He works for a predominantly Indian-owned publication in the ESPN Cricket Info. And he has to go out and he has to make sense of this chaos every single time. And trust me, there is a lot of chaos. Like Usman Samiuddin, as much as we love him, he just comes out, writes an amazing think piece, and that's it. The real reporting is Daniel Rasool, and he's out there getting his hands muddied and dirty and actually trying to make sense of all this. He has the toughest job in Pakistan cricket right now. I salute Daniel Rasool, the integrity that this man has. He keeps his head cool. He asks the right questions. He does his best to be impartial. But I know, as he and me and you and everybody else who follows Pakistan cricket, we are ripping our hairs out. What message does the PCB send out when this happens? PCB itself has the worst repertoire right now amongst all boards of just being volatile, inconsistent, incoherent, incompetent. Insert your in adjective here. It's a shame, and this just reinstates that fact that, hey, don't work for us. We suck. We won't let our players play leagues outside. We won't. We'll belittle our captain on TV on air. And we'll give him a clause on his central contract that he's only going to get this amount of money if he's the captain of Pakistan cricket team. We're going to remove 2 of our star players in Mohammad Haris and Fakhar Zaman. And we're going to make sure that we belittle you, give you the worst working environments of all time so that you resign. This is Pakistan Cricket Board. And, we've mentioned this many times before, until it goes into better hands, until another overhaul system happens where things are different, this will just keep repeating itself. We're in a cycle of recycled revenge, as Coldplay says in their song. It is cycle of recycled revenge. And, right now it's most unlikely. Take that plug out, put somebody else in. Every now and then you'll get somebody like Wasim Khan and Ehsan Mani who are actually genuinely working for the cause. But that's so few and far between that you're going to be used to the setup for a while.
The one thing that Pakistan cricket needs is consistency. And I feel like that could only be achieved once you announce things for long term. Like you should announce Mohammad Rizwan as the captain for the next ODI World Cup.
But they do. They announced. I mean, Gary Kirsten was announced for 2 years,
and he resigned. I think that's sort of it's an interesting situation. Jason Gillespie might be the next one who follows. Like you mentioned, I think yes, he will be coaching Pakistan and Australia, but that might be the last of what his coaching tenure might be.
He doesn't go back on that flight from PIA.
I mean, from hearing what he's been saying in interviews, his tone, he's sounding quite pissed. He has openly come and said that this is not the job that he signed up for, that he wants a say in this election, which is true. I mean, Mickey Arthur has tweeted yesterday that if a coach does not have a say in selection, that does not rub off right with the players, because the coach is the one in the dressing room looking to the players eye to eye. And if you cannot grant them security, then what's the point in being honest and transparent?
Yeah, I totally agree. And, if anybody knows anything about boxing cricket, it's Mickey Arthur. He's been there through the highs and the lows. And, man, I don't know. It's really hard to feel hopeful with this team. They do one good thing and then, somebody said it brilliantly. 1 step forward, 10 steps back. They win a record series against England at home, something they haven't done in 3 years, something they haven't beaten England in a series in 10 years. And, we're not even off the high of that victory that you and I have to come sit here for an hour and a half and talk about this bull crap. And it's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to people who are following this. What it does do is that it will make great TV entertainment. Like you said, a Netflix TV show of the behind the scenes would be amazing. They don't even want to do that and capitalize on it and actually show us the BTS. So we're just here speculating, sitting here, cleaning up, making sense of what a Rorschach test is?
No.
that when they give you blots and they're like, hey, what do you see in these ink pages? You know what I'm talking about? Whether you'll see a butterfly or you see a goat or whatever. This is like Pakistan cricket board, and Pakistan cricket is like a Rorschach test that has been dipped in shit. And then you and I are supposed to come out here and make sense of it and be like, hey, no, that is a butterfly, that is a goat, that is freaking Babar Azam making a century. We don't know. And you know, frankly, it's getting tiresome. That's why I feel like Daniel Rasool is a goat there, actually, honestly, every single day reporting this and keeping a straight head on it. I don't know how he does it. Would love to sit with him across and talk to him about this because, man, it gets tough in here.
Actually, anybody covering Pakistan cricket deserves a raise. They deserves a salute, applaud, whether it be Pro Sports, Buttafast, even Rehanul Haq now has his own podcast called Sporting Myths. Check it out. And I think when we initially started this podcast, I don't think we planned for such chaos. And if you've ever thought about starting a podcast on Pakistan cricket, I would advise against it.
Yeah, a lot of people are trying to do it. It's not for the faint-hearted, man. But I think we've invested too much in here, and
We're too deep.
We're too deep. There's no way out of the abyss for us. Well, that happy thought. Guys, don't forget to check out our Patreon. Be a member. Join us. Help support the podcast. Help keep the lights on. We have amazing stuff up there. Things are.
Do we have comments on Patreon?
Oh, yes. Oh, good call on that. I did mention the Patreon comments. Yes, I do.
Well, when you join the Patreon, you get immediate access to a lot of BTS stuff. You get access to show notes. You can have your say in the podcast. We have monthly live calls. I think now is the time to join in Patreon. There's a lot of exclusive stuff. I think early access is something we've been giving to the Patreon members recently. So you get the podcast
6 to 10 hours.
A few hours earlier.
Like some of the podcasts, like we have an interview podcast that is up on YouTube already, and then the Patreon people will get access to that maybe 24, 48 hours before, 2 days before. Yeah. So it's one of those things. They had the Usman Khwaja podcast up there way before we had it posted live. This is one of those things where there's a lot of perks. And then at the end of the day, if you love Pakistan cricket, if you love Backward Point, it's a great way to support us.
Absolutely.
And then be part of the discourse, because I'm just going to start reading some comments. I asked people, Australia tour plus Gary resigns, thoughts on the squads for the Australia tour and the Gary Kirsten resignation as head coach. Insane stuff is happening. So right off the bat, Yusuf Amr Shamsi says, from what I've heard, this was more of a Gary's problem, less of a PCB. He himself was not fulfilling responsibilities from his own contract, even when he was fully in charge. Gary is a respectable coach, but I think I'm on the Nakwi train on this. Thoughts on this, Bashar? There is a counter argument to the whole situation.
Maybe. I think there is two sides to the story. We will never know what happened until PCB has more of a detailed media release, which we're still waiting for.
And Gary Kirsten hasn't come out officially and said anything.
Correct.
So, A.M. Masood says, if I had to pick and choose, I'm going to say it's two reasons. Number one, I'd say having a foreign coach is part of one of the many insecurities we have built over the ages in management. We always tend to have a foreign coach can save us mentality, which sometimes works, like in the case of Hayden, but most of the time it doesn't. Number two, whenever a coach is selected, PCB always manages to find some way to make the coach's responsibility no more than that of a water boy in games and strategy. Something that Jason Gillespie has echoed. And so my 2 cents are on the matter that we stick with Pakistani coaches, give them the power that they need, and watch them do their magic. We already saw a huge success on that with Ali Imdad and Aqib taking the reins on the second and third test. Question for you, Bashar. Do you think Ali Imdad has the potential to be Pakistan's coach?
I think if he's coach, Rizwan's DRS might improve. That could be something. But I think it is a decade-long debate whether Pakistan needs foreign coaches or local coaches. And I think we still do not have the answer, because the problem with a local coach is that he comes with a lot of baggage. We've had players like Misbah, Yunus, Waqar Yunus, Sakleh Mushtaq, Mohsin Khan in the past. And what we've heard typically is that those players have mentally still not retired, and they think of themselves as superstar players. So they have massive egos, and they're not able to put that aside for the betterment of the team. Sakleh, on the other hand, was essentially just a dummy coach. He was there to facilitate Babar Azam and what he was doing. So I think until we find the right person for the right job, this will be tough.
You'll never know who I am wants to know, not cricket related, but why does Bashar always wear hats indoors?
Bad hair days. To protect bad hair days.
I knew it. Zen says, it doesn't surprise me, honestly. A coach of his caliber wouldn't want to be a match day strategist only. Good call on that. Shahrukh Farhan says, if you guys would like me to promote or be a correspondent for BP at GABA for their first T20, let me know. Otherwise, I'll look for the banner. I'll mention you guys. On a serious note, are you really surprised by Gary leaving when a coach doesn't even have a say in the playing 11? Will be blamed for everything. They have to deal with the toxic media eventually.
Yo, Shahrukh, absolutely be our correspondent.
100%.
Send us videos, post on the Discord because you'll be 15 seconds ahead of the TV stuff.
Yeah, send us stuff. We'll post it on from Backward Point Story. If you make a sign and all that, 100%. Yusuf says, I don't view Gillespie staying for a long time either. As a matter of fact, I don't see any coach, be that local or foreign, staying for that long. Also, why is Mohammad Rizwan being sidelined once again? Lastly, does this mean Rizbar is here to stay? I think we touched upon that all a little bit. Gaber says, I really thought with Gary Kirsten, a new fresh start of white ball cricket was going to happen, especially with the Champions Trophy being played in Pakistan. But as Jason Gillespie said, it wasn't what they signed up for. And for the lack of communication are the reason for Gary and maybe Jason to resign as coaches. As far as I can see, Pakistan should stick with the Pakistani coach. So people are calling for Aqib Javed, basically.
Correct. No, I think this is a big blow because the Champions Trophy is just a few months away, and the Champions Trophy in Pakistan is arguably the biggest sporting event that's happened in Pakistan since the 1996 World Cup.
It's been almost 30 years, man.
Almost 30 years.
It's been a while.
So I think it's important that Pakistan have their stuff in order while going into this tournament.
I don't even know what's the situation with the
stadiums.
The stadiums. Like Karachi and Lahore was completely obliterated. I don't know if they have that manpower to build that up until February and have it in playing condition. Karachi, I think, had a less of a change, but nonetheless, we don't know. Thank you for the Patreon people to leaving their comments. Always insightful, always enlightening. One of the Patreon questions was with Usman Khwaja, where we asked him about the PCB.
If you would coach Pakistan.
And so, there are perks with being a Patreon subscriber. You might get your question in front of a person like Usman Khwaja. Yeah, man, like it's been a crazy, wild ride. And I honestly want to break from it. I feel like we won't catch a break for a long time. But
you can't because currently you're working on writing Backward Point's first ever weekly newsletter.
I've written it 3 times and I've deleted it because I've realized how bad my writing is. You're going to have a horrible time writing it next week as well because we are not in touch with our writing muscles at all.
Guys, backwardpointpod.com is live. Backward Point's official website. It's out. It's on display. You can click on it in the description. And if you scroll through, you can then subscribe to Backward Point's newsletter. Just put in your email and we will send you the newsletter when it's out. This is going to be a weekly thing, written 1 week by Nazar Bhai, 1 week by myself.
We might even have guest writers in, some big names, some not so big names, having writing in some passages about Pakistan cricket, about cricket itself, about life. It's going to be an all-encompassing thing. And we would love to see it grow. And, literature is important. Reading is important. We have a lot of young men and a lot of young people in our crowd. And I want a lot of them to start getting into the literature of cricket. Usman Samiuddin writes beautifully. Daniel Rasool writes beautifully for Pakistan cricket. There's not a lot of people who are doing that and we would love to be one of those people that add to that narrative.
Absolutely. I think writing will help us become better orators.
Yeah.
And just getting people to read stuff would also be quite interesting. So sign up. Also, our Discord is absolutely free. Links to join in the description. Become a part of a non-toxic cricket community where you can have like-minded individuals and chat about your favorite sport.
Hour and 20 minutes podcast, Bashar. Anything else that you think we've left behind?
No. If we have left it behind, then so be it.
So be it. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, leave a like, subscribe, leave comment. We're always in the comments engaging with you guys. And yeah, check out the Patreon, all that stuff. This is another Siga signing out. We will be back soon with a preview of the Pakistan versus Australia series. And yeah, whoever's going to these games, give us a shout out. I know one of our cousins is going to the Hobart game as well. So we'll get some insights on that as well.
I just noticed Pakistan's white ball captain has signed that shirt behind you on the bottom left.
And one of the bats, the Yashi bats as well, have been signed by Pakistan's white ball captain. Good times, man. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you guys in the next episode very soon.
Cheers.